Hello and welcome to me. Today, I wanted to talk about the most recent Drive to Survive season that just came out last Friday, season 8, about the 2025 Formula One season. I'm going to warn you now, there will be spoilers for Drive to Survive season 8 and also, obviously, the Formula One season of last year. It's one and the same thing, isn't it? Let's dive in. So, I'll give you a little summary first in case you didn't watch it, do not want to watch it. There are 8 episodes instead of 10 usually, so that was confusing to start with. The first episode is about pre-season, mainly F1 75, and then also the Australian Grand Prix, mostly about Kimi, his first race, and as such a young rookie driver and all of that. The second episode is about Alpine versus Sauber, mainly about the managing styles, about Briatore being very cutthroat, and about Jonathan Wheatley being very understanding and accommodating. It was mainly Miami, bit of Imola, and then obviously ending with Silverstone with the Hulkenberg finally getting a podium. I suppose the conclusion of the episode was kind of that the Sauber, more accommodating managing style worked better, but let's be honest, the Alpine was also terrible. The car, I mean. But I'm not trying to say that I agree with Briatore's managing style. That I think goes without saying. Third episode is McLaren, with Lando struggles and Oscar's wins in the beginning of the season. I'm pretty sure it ends with Lando's win in Silverstone, and there's not much after that, if any. Fourth episode is Red Bull, from the sea change in Japan, third race of the season, where Liam Lawson got switched out with Yuki Tsunoda for Red Bull. It goes on to the firing of Christian Horner, the team principal, after the Austrian Grand Prix. I mean, that one really wasn't anyone's fault in the Red Bull garage anyway. I'm also not blaming Kimi Antonelli. I think this kind of thing just happens. There's rookie drivers and sometimes they do rookie driver things, like punting Max Verstappen out of the race. That's my personal opinion, but regardless, Horner got fired and was replaced with Laurent Mekies. I don't think you see much of him in that episode. Fifth episode is Williams, obviously in Australia, although we do not see Sainz calling Alex's strategy. People were giving Sainz a lot of credit for that, but I don't think that came through in the episode. We have some Miami as well, and we're ending with Baku, which was obviously Sainz's first podium with Williams. There was no mention of the second podium that he got, whether that was. I think it was just you can see him on the podium. I think it's Qatar, one of the last races. In the later episode, you can see him, and I was like, oh yeah, like that was not mentioned at all. Can I count? Sixth episode was Mercedes versus Ferrari, which I did not like for obvious reasons. It was, I think, a lot about George Russell doing well and then Kimi Antonelli kind of not pulling his weight, quote unquote. He's a rookie driver. It was mostly Spa and Brazil, where Ferrari had the double DNF. This time, Kimi Antonelli got bounced into Charles Leclerc, who then DNF'd. I guess the conclusion from that episode was Mercedes won. They did also do better in the Constructors' Championship overall in the end, so I guess it was accurate. Doesn't mean I have to like it. Then seventh episode was Vegas. It was also different because we did not have the overhead shot of the pit stop happening with one of the cars and then it driving off, and then you get the Formula One Drive to Survive series title. Instead, it was like a pool table. No, not pool table. It was like one of those casino looking tables instead. So yeah, it was a Vegas episode, and it was mainly about the 4 top teams. We got a bit of Mercedes, we got a bit of Ferrari, we got a bit of Red Bull, and a bit of McLaren, and then the McLaren double DSQ. There's a reason that the English word Schadenfreude got imported from my native language. Didn't hate it. And then the last one was the championship battle, obviously between Oscar, Max, and Lando, and Lando's win. So it was basically Qatar and Abu Dhabi. Okay, let's have a look at the bingo card before I give you more of my impressions. So this is my Drive to Survive Season 8 predictions that I've shown you a bit ago as well. These were my 9 squares. So we had Verstappen gets unvilified, Piastri is the new villain, Isaac is the new golden boy and gets his own episode because he also got Rookie of the Year. I thought there would be insane archival footage for the Hulkenberg podium, like a throwback for, how long thought it was. Something is blatantly misrepresented as the center square because it's Drive to Survive and that's part of the package. I thought we'd have a Lewis Hamilton depression compilation, an episode that doesn't pass the Bechdel test, an Alpine episode, and an unhinged rookie compilation because they've been unhinged in the media. I got 5 out of 9 and I got 1 bingo. I ticked off Piastri as the new villain because in the McLaren episode, it's a lot of Oscar being very stern, looking very confident. I don't know. Like, it just, to me, it gave the impression of, like, he's the one to beat for Lando. Was it him being a villain in the same way maybe Max Verstappen has been painted as the villain? No. But very much like the antagonist of the episode. I would say more so than like Alex Albon was, for example, when it was about Sainz doing better in Williams in the end. Like, you know, when the finale of the episode is kind of the driver finally getting what they wanted. So Sainz getting his podium, Lando getting his win in Silverstone. Obviously, their teammate is always kind of the foil for that a little bit, but I feel like it was less the case with Alex than it was with Oscar. So I gave myself that one. Something is blatantly misrepresented. I have something specific in mind, but again, it's kind of a free square. I'll go into that later. We have the Lewis Hamilton depression compilation, which was short. We get kind of 2 little bits where they cut multiple instances of him having some sort of issue, asking something, not getting a response, which, yeah, I counted. For episode doesn't pass the Bechdel test, I didn't have a specific episode in mind, but I couldn't think of a single one passing the Bechdel test, so I decided it counts. And Alpine episode, I think the Alpine versus Sauber one had enough Alpine in it to be considered an Alpine episode. One half of the episode is dedicated to them, and we saw a lot, mostly of Doohan and Briatore, but also a tiny bit of Colapinto. He was probably more painted as the villain than Oscar was, probably. So those are my squares. I feel like I did okay. So overall, in this season, if you didn't want to watch it, I will tell you what we got and what we didn't get. This is not unbiased. There are things we got that I didn't want, and there are things we didn't get that I wanted. I also probably forgot stuff, but this is just kind of my overall impression after watching the season. We got a lot of McLaren, especially Zach Brown. I could have done with a lot less. Or none. We got a lot of Horner, including kind of rehabilitating him / making him look like the victim. So that was great. We had quite a bit of Ferrari, of Mercedes, of Red Bull, of Williams, Sauber, Alpine. All of them got like at least a partial episode dedicated to them, or even a full episode. I would say there was not that much Verstappen. I did like that they gave at least a bit of credit for his amazing drive in Brazil and overall his second half of the season. But we also know that he's not a fan of Drive to Survive. He's made that abundantly clear. Yeah, I wasn't surprised. We also didn't get that much racing balls from what I recall, other than the Red Bull switch of Yuki and Liam. Other than that, not really. The last episode, I saw the Racing Bulls team principal and I was like, oh yeah, it's that guy. So, you know, we barely got anything from the Haas drivers. I think we saw Ollie Behrman probably only in the first episode when it was about the rookie drivers. I don't even remember if we got a confessional bit from Ocon or not. We also got barely anything from Aston Martin. We got, I think in total, like 1 or 2 bits from Stroll, Alonso, Ocon, and Behrman each. I remember there was like a bit of Fernando talking about the rookies, because I remember finding it funny because he made a comment about how it's hard to drive in the rain, and it was about Australia and the rookies and it being tough, and then he obviously also crashed, which was a bit ironic. I think Stroll, I really only remember seeing in the last episode like 1 confessional piece. Very, very little from them, and nothing dedicated about Haas or Aston Martin at all. There was that Aston Martin in the overhead shot for the first episode. I think that's all we saw of that car. And I would say overall, in terms of like races, we got quite a bit of Australia because it was both covered in the rookie episode and the Williams episode. We got quite a bit of Miami, it popped up multiple times. Of Canada, obviously, for the McLaren episode where Lando and Oscar crashed, as well as a bit about Antonelli getting a podium there. There was obviously Silverstone for Lando, and for the Hülkenberg podium for the Sauber episode. We had Austria for Red Bull, Brazil for the Ferrari and Mercedes episode, Vegas with its own episode, and then Qatar and Abu Dhabi for the last championship decider episode. We didn't get a lot of other races. Like, I don't think we saw a single thing from Monaco, for example. I'm pretty sure we didn't get the real reason Horner was booed, because this was a point in the first episode where Horner was booed. There was a funny comment that Toto made, because he's nothing if he's not petty. But basically, Horner was booed at the F1 75 event. And then I think Liam, you can hear like backstage kind of being concerned about getting booed. And then kind of Max saying, you know, whatever, who cares kind of thing. But there was someone else in the background, like a staffer of some sort, saying you won't be. And I think that's the only acknowledgement we get that the booing might not be because Horner's been so incredibly successful and everybody else is just jealous, which is the way he frames it afterwards. And he gets to talk about it and he gets to kind of justify it and say it's, you know, because they're so successful. And then we do not hear whether or not Red Bull gets booed. Someone speaks over it. You don't hear the actual noise of the arena. And I checked and they did not get booed. And I am pretty sure that Horner got booed because of the, sexual abuse allegations rather than being so successful. That was also not really Red Bull's problem at that point. They were third in the constructors. Yeah, I think that was a personal thing, not a, oh my God, how dare he be so successful? And I didn't like that they framed it that way. I didn't go through the whole season and thought about like, oh, what was this thing that I expected? Obviously expected the Hulkenberg podium, which we got, the Sainz podium, we got some acknowledgement of Max Verstappen's dominant second half of the season, or Zandvoort to Abu Dhabi part of the season. But we didn't get the Max Verstappen George Russell crash, which I would have just found funny. I guess someone didn't agree with me. I think my favorite part of that fact is that he started like 4th, 5th, 3rd, something like that, and then ends in 10th, and they show you that stat and then tell you his driver of the day. That was hilarious. But we didn't see that. I think we saw something in Spain, but I don't remember what it was. What I could have done without, personally. I could have done without that much Brown, Briatore, and Horner. Briatore was probably shown the least out of all three, but honestly, I don't want to see any of them. I really could have done without trying to make Christian Horner look like the victim. Because not only was it about the booing in the F1 75 event, it was also after he was fired in Austria, or after Austria. He then gets to do like a narration, they do like a throwback thing, and like they interview him at home with his wife and everything. I'm not here for the Christian Horner pity party. I didn't like it. It felt manipulative to me because I know I don't like the man, and it made me feel vaguely sorry for him. I don't like feeling sorry for him. He is doing fine. I also could have done without the US Navy sponsorship ? Event where Alex Albon and James Vowles went and flew in like did I say Navy? I guess it's Air Force. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it was like US military related, and they were flying these like fighter jets, or being flown in these fighter jets. Do we need to talk about the US military this explicitly in a documentary series about Formula One? I would say no. Guess that's not a unanimous opinion. I can also forever do without random friends or spouses of drivers or team principals asking them questions and then half explaining how Formula One works to them. The most notable one, I think, was a random friend of Lando's. I don't know, it sounded like he was explaining how the championship battle works to Lando. Like, I know he didn't do that on purpose. I think that's how Netflix, brings up these topics to get sound bites and to get them to talk about interesting topics while they're in private. And I guess that means you give the spouses or friends questions. Hey, can you ask them about the season so they can talk about it? It's making them look foolish, and it annoys me. These poor people, can we stop? This was also multiple times in the season, specifically a random, really well-known sports person asked Zach Brown leading questions about how McLaren is doing. Why? I don't enjoy it. Please stop. And also, obviously, I would like to do without the unnecessary rivalries. As I said, I feel like they play them up. I don't know, maybe I underestimate how much teammates can beef with each other, but I think it's a bit silly. What I would like more of is just non-toxic, supportive, accountable team principals. At least my impression. Obviously, this was only in the series. You never know kind of what the framing is, what else they said. But James Vowles, Jonathan Wheatley, and Laura Mackies, all three seemed accountable. I think Zach Brown at one point also says if there's one single person to blame, it's him. But he also at another point says they can't play God and decide the championship for the drivers or whatever. And I'm like, I don't know. Maybe you have to, though. Those are my thoughts. I'll have another look if I find anything else fun I wrote down. Okay, let's do a quick fire of just random notes I took. I thought it was diabolical showing Kimi being picked up from school by his mum. Hilarious choice. The fact that they showed McLaren in a helicopter, Alpine in a speedboat, and then the Mercedes drivers taking the tube. Sure. I did like the back to school vibe at backstage of F1 75. That was enjoyable. I would like to see more of that and less of everything else. Oh, Toto's quote, by the way, about Horner getting booed was something along the lines of, he went up there thinking he was going to rock the room and then the room rocked him. Evil. That's evil, but funny. I hated reliving especially Isaac's crash because it was just so heartbreaking. I'm so glad he got to where he got to in such a short span of time. By that I mean rookie of the year, not the Red Bull seat. I did enjoy Pierre Gasly saying, reserve drivers, we have a few, we can probably put a football team together. All of these quotes are I wrote it down after I heard it and then quickly tried to get the gist of it. They're not necessarily verbatim. Oh, I like that they gave Nico credit for calling the pit stop in Silverstone, which was, I think, a big part of why he got to be so far up front. That was nice. Giving credit where credit's due, unlike Sainz for the Alex pit stop. The table where Lando's friend Normie explains Formula One to him was really high. The person I was watching with noticed it, and then I noticed it, and I couldn't unsee it because they all sit there like this. It's hilarious. Also, in the McLaren episode, at some point it comes across as if Zach prefers Oscar. From all the other stuff I've seen, always comes across like he prefers Lando. At some point, and I don't know what for, I wrote Toto shitstir Wolf. I stand by it. Don't know what it was about though. I was in the Red Bull episode, so it was probably about Horner. There's some questionable quotes from George Russell. One that I think has already gone around about the unfortunate outcomes of him and his girlfriend making skincare together. I do not care to repeat it, but it was gross, and I wish they hadn't put that in. The love letter as messages between Toto Wolff and Christian Horner. Like, can we all stop being so repressed? I'm begging. There was a funny quote of Lewis saying he was never this close to Charles with him between his legs. Sure. We also had Charles saying it was chaos, but probably the best race of the season for us, and thought I was over my Ferrari depression from last year, but I guess not. At some point, Val said, are we creating environments where it is difficult to perform? And I thought that was so good. That is, I think, how you need to approach being a team principal. I think it was the Williams headquarters. They had an F1 pit stop shaped bush. Like, the bush out front of the place was shaped like a Formula One car with like someone in the front and the rear like jacking up the car. That was so cute. I love that. And to, I guess, send us off at the end of the last episode, everybody was saying like sweet messages. There was one by Lewis that I had never heard before where he was like thanking the team for the empathy and compassion or something like that, and then said he would always fight for them, something along those lines. It was very sweet, very dedicated. So everybody being very sweet, and then just Gasly asking to keep the car out of his sight. But yeah, that was Drive to Survive. It was good. It was kind of sort of what I expected. Yeah, it is what it is. Again, I don't like that they gave Horner such a platform. And yeah, again, I could also do with less Zach Brown at any given time. I guess I have to hope for McLaren doing worse, so he has less reason to talk. Is that rude? Maybe. Anyway, I stand by it. So yeah, those are my overall thoughts on Drive to Survive Season 8. Do let me know what you think. If you enjoyed it, if you thought it was as expected, if there was like stuff you were surprised by, positively or negatively, or if you didn't watch it at all. In which case, again, I can't blame you. Either way, now, the next thing to look forward to is Australia next week. I'm so excited. I cannot wait. It's race week as I'm filming this. Really crossing my fingers that all the people I want to have a good time, have a good time. Wasn't the case last time. I hope you enjoyed this, and good luck to all of us for a fun Australian Grand Prix. Let's hope the Ferrari does well. I'm only hoping, not expecting. That way I can't be disappointed. I will still be disappointed, but that's just kind of what I signed up for when I decided Ferrari was my team, isn't it? So, yeah. Bye!